Hi, welcome to Waylo's Workshop. I'm Waylo, and this is the B9 robot from the classic TV show Lost in Space. As you can tell by the size of this box, this is not the 1/6 figure scale offered by Moebius Models. This is actually the 1/25 scale that was originally offered as part of the Chariot. If you go on Moebius's website, I believe that kit is actually being brought back. It's been out of circulation for some time. Here we're just taking a little look at the box art. This little guy is actually a lot of fun. He's not even 3 inches tall, so I thought this would be a great way to show kind of a step-by-step for the new modelers out there exactly what the process is from the time you open the box to the time you finish the kit. And I'll show you how simple this is. This is the instructions right here on the back of the box. There's no instructions in the kit other than what's printed right here. So I mean, it's a skill level 3. It's pretty much anybody could put this together. So I thought it would be a little bit of fun, and it'll sit here on my bench, and maybe I'll even put it up on the top of the channel page or on my website as my little mascot for the site. So let's take a look. The detail on this figure is really amazing. It's really well made, really well done. I removed a few of the larger pieces from the sprue and assembled them, and yeah, it fits together really nicely. Very little cleanup to do. There are a few injection tabs attached to some of the smaller pieces because that's just the way it comes out of the mold. But all in all, it's relatively simple to clean up and put together. And again, here you're seeing the bottom of the robot. Actually, initially I thought both of these pieces were identical, and then I realized that one of them has a small little door. If you remember in the TV show, a little tube would come out and take a soil sample that the robot could analyze with. Then here are some of the smaller components on the sprue. As you can see here, you have those injection points where the hot plastic goes into the mold and then fills in the area where the actual model piece is. You got to pay attention when you're going through these because some of the sprues have smaller pieces that you might think is just sprue. All the clears are here. Again, really nicely done. Real clean. Looks very simple to clean up. So I thought I'd take you through the process of how to cut them out of a sprue. I use 2 different sprue cutters. This blue one is smaller to remove smaller bits of material from the sprue. The larger red ones here I use just to chop away the larger bits. I've already removed part of the robot body, but I'll show you on a sprue. You have the smaller pieces here, and that's what I'll use the blue ones for, where I use the red one for the larger sections to remove off of these bigger pieces of sprue. Okay, now when you're cutting bits and pieces from a sprue, you want to grab hold of the piece itself and leave a little bit of material that you can cut away and remove later. If you don't hold on to the piece as you trim it, it's going to go flying off and sailing across the room, so you want to make sure you grab hold of it. As you can see, I'm using the red ones here to remove bigger pieces of material. And you want to make sure you get all those pieces out of the sprue as you go. Now here I'm going to use the blue ones to remove the smaller pieces, and again I'm going to trim them close, but I'm going to leave enough of the material there so that I'm not risking damaging the piece itself as I'm cutting it. And again, as you can see, I'm holding on to it so it doesn't go flying across the room as you snip it. A lot of times you'll lose bits and pieces as you go because you simply forget to hang on to them. And sometimes the space in there can be a little bit tight, so you want to make sure again that you're not damaging the piece itself, that you're actually cutting on the sprue and not trimming it up exactly to the piece. Once you've removed all the pieces from the sprue, then we're going to go back with an X-Acto knife and trim away any excess material. This way, again, we don't risk damaging the actual pieces that we're removing. Okay, we're going to take these bits that we've removed from the sprue and trim them up with the X-Acto knife here. Now as you're doing this, you want to make sure you hang on to the piece of the model and trim away the sprue, not the other way around, because what will happen is your bit of model will go flying across the room again. So once you've trimmed these down, you can take a look at them and determine whether or not you got to shave them down or trim them down further, or if it's close enough, and then you can go in with a bit of sandpaper or a sanding stick and, you know, sand that down and get a smooth surface area. But here, as you can see again, you know, you got a bit of material there to remove. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go through and remove the rest of that, and then we'll take a look. Okay, as you can see on the bottom of the robot here, we've got a good bit of sprue left there, bit on the bottom here too. And what I'm going to do is, again, using the X-Acto knife, we're going to make sure that we go in and remove that material. Now this is a bit like whittling, so you want to go in and be careful and let the blade do the work, let the blade do the cutting. You just apply very little pressure. You don't want to risk damaging the piece or cutting your own hand. You're just going to go in and do a little bit of shave work and remove the material slowly until you can get it as smooth as you possibly can, working it back and forth there like I'm doing here. You may have to go in after you're done with a bit of sand, real fine sandpaper or a fine polishing stick, and work that smooth. Here on the bottom, as you can see, I got a little bit of material there, and again, I'm just working it down, shaving it down. It's just a matter of patience and time to remove that material. So that's what we're going to do with the rest of these pieces, and we'll be back. Okay, now I've done this with all the bits of the robot here. What we're going to do now is we're going to go in all those areas. We're going to go over and smooth those out. Now what I've got here is a polishing stick. These come in different grits. I believe these are actually from Testers. They have different color sticks for, you know, different grades. This is a composite stick. It's pink and white and gray, different grits again, and you just work the various grits until you work finer and finer. So it's kind of a step down process, depending on how much material you leave and, you know, how delicate the area is, or how comfortable you are with your ability to use an X-Acto to shave those bits and pieces down. But I go around the different edges and make sure everything's nice, smooth, and clean. And again, it's a stepping down process, so you're going to go from one grade to another. These sticks are really nice. I like these. They're very handy. They come in I believe this is a 1200 grit. This is real coarse, rough grit. And then again, you know, you have I can't know if you can see that. That's a pink and white. Pink on one side, white on the other. So again, you know, you have different gradiences, and there's different brands out there, but they're worthwhile. Okay, so now here we have the robot. I'm doing the pre-assembly work to see how he looks. I'm putting together as many pieces as I can with a dry fit, just to see how he looks all cleaned up. And these are all the basic components. That's it. I haven't touched the clears yet. We're going to get to those in a minute, but basically the process is the same. In fact, here, let's take a look. So again, with the clear pieces, I'm going to go through and it's the exact same process. We're going to use a sprue cutter, cut it from the sprue, trim it down with the X-Acto knife, and then we're going to go in and using a fine grit polishing stick, we're going to go back over the pieces and polish them all. So, you know, the process again is the same. You always want to make sure you're using a sharp blade on your X-Acto. And again, the polishing sticks, you know, fine grit for this kind of work doesn't scratch the glass. So now once we've gone through and done everything there is to do, we're going to begin the assembly work. And for this, I like to use the Tamiya Ultra Thin. Because of the clear components that have to go in the robot's body, I'm not going to put the upper portion of his torso together, but I am going to do the lower body work here. And I'm using, again, Tamiya Ultra Thin. This type of glue does actually melt the plastic, so you're going to get a once you've got the glue on here and you get it activated, it will actually melt the two pieces together. This is the type of glue I prefer is this ultra thin. It's real easy to work with, nothing like the tube glue from when we were kids that you swirled around with a toothpick and hoped you got it in the right places. This applies almost like water. I mean, it's just really, really nice stuff to work with. But basically what you're going to do is you want to get all the parts there, put it all together. And then what I like to do is go back around and from the outside just go around and touch around the seam edges just to fill in those little gaps. This is easier to do than the gap filling a lot of times. You may wind up with a seam line on this. I'm not going to go in and do all the heavy seam work and sanding and polishing. I'll save that for a different video. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm gluing it up. I'm just using the ultra thin here to close up as much of that seam gap as I can, so that when we take it over to the paint booth, hopefully I come up with a smooth finish. Because of the ridge work on the lower part of his body, I don't want to go in there and try to file those out or sand those the material out and gap fill. I think it'll just make a worse seam, just because the figure is so small. So, this is a good way to get a strong bond. Once you finish going all the way around the seams like this and basically welding it all together, what I do is I like to take a rubber band, put it around there, and just let it sit for a few hours, and you're usually good to go. In fact, look at it, it's already ready to go. Okay, I've pretty much done all the prep work that I need to do prior to painting. I've got this little carousel I like to put everything on. I use toothpicks or bits of sprue to hold everything in place. As you can see, the clear pieces came out just as nice, trimmed up real nice. These little clamps come in handy for holding the very small pieces I'm going to spray. And then what I did with the clear bits is I simply put them on a piece of tape. I don't know if you could see the pieces there. I'm going to use a transparent spray to try to get a red tone to that glass to make it look like, warning, warning, danger, Will Robinson. But anyway, that's it for this video. Once again, thanks for watching, and don't forget to